What's up, everybody? This is Opinionated Gamer. I'm here today to bring you a Destiny 2 beta review. This is just a review on the beta, so anything I say might change in the full release of Destiny 2. For instance, like weapon slots and where they put weapons. That all might change. They might make a couple changes. So what I say now is just what I see in the beta, and I'm just reviewing that as though it's going to be in the actual game, but if it's not, then that's no biggie. So let's get started with the review. You had 3 slots for weapons. You had your primary, your secondary, and your heavy. And in your primary, you had hand cannons, auto rifles, scout rifles, and pulse rifles. And in your secondary, you had shotgun, snipers, and fusion rifles. And then they later released sidearms, I think, in the Taken King expansion. No, actually, the what was it? House of Wolves DLC, if I do believe. But and then in your heavy, you had your rock launchers and your swords, and also the fusion rifle exotic. I forget what it was called, but it was kind of like a exception. So you had your rock launchers, your machine guns, that's another one, and your swords. But now they kind of changed it to where you can have an auto rifle in your primary, your secondary. You can have an auto rifle in your primary and secondary. But then in your heavy, you have a sniper and a shotgun, and it's just really weird how they did that. It's like you can have like 2 of the same gun types in your first and second weapon slots, and then in your third it's just shotgun, sniper, and I think they're gonna probably put fusion rifle. Just really weird. It's something that I was getting used to while playing the Destiny 2 beta. I'm going to see how they do it, but hopefully they change it. But if not, I guess we're going to have to deal with it. It gives kind of like a difference in how you use your weapons when playing the game. But before, you had your sniper, an auto rifle, or any kind of change you want to have, like a hand cannon, shotgun, rocket launcher, etc. So you had a lot more options. Now they kind of dumbed it down to where it's just you can have 2 of the same type of guns in your first 2 slots, and then you have like a shotgun, sniper, or fusion rifle in your heavy, or the new addition of grenade launchers, which is really cool, and I'm pretty excited for the grenade launchers because I played with the grenade launcher in the Destiny 2 beta, and it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it, and also they're gonna have rocket launchers, but I haven't seen a rocket launcher yet because I've been too busy recording for the footage. But another thing about the weapons is the perks. The perks in the weapons are kind of greatly reduced. When I say that is because I think they're the modifiers, or the not attachments, but the kind of like things that you can like mod slots. So what it seems like, you can actually change your weapon camos, which is really interesting. I think it gives a lot more personality to the guns, because if you look at the perks in the gun screen, what you'll see in the bottom is the like weapon shader or shader. So it's like it says like change the color of your gear. So I think that might mean that we will be getting shaders for guns, which is going to be pretty cool. Sort of like the exotic what were they called? It's like where you can like change the look of your exotics, but I can't think about it now because I haven't played Destiny 1 in a little while because it kind of died off. But anyway, so another thing that's new with the weapons is the addition of, for your secondary and heavy, it seems like you can change your damage type, like arc, solar, and void. If you look, it says like it has like that mod slot where it's like arc mod for your secondary. So it's gonna be pretty cool if you can change the damage type of those weapons, but they don't have them for their primary. From what I've seen, they don't have it. Another thing is it has a lot more of a better description on how the gun stacks up on accuracy, handling, all that stuff. So that was really cool. But the only thing I was kind of down about, or not down, but kind of disappointed in, is the lack of perks in a gun. Because if you look at Destiny 1, they had a lot of perks, except like near the end of Destiny 1's life cycle, they kind of shortened the perk list for legendaries. But see, with Destiny 2 from legendaries, and especially the exotics I've seen, we'll get to that in a second, they seem to really have shortened the amount of perks. But I think they're probably going to have to. I think the reason why they did that was because the mods that you put into the gun will probably do different things to the gun. So I think that's probably why they don't have a whole bunch of perks, because I think they're going to rely more on mods for your guns. Another thing is that for exotics, they have very low amount of perks in them. So, but mind you, this is the beta, so maybe you have to. I mean, with the perks, they were already unlocked, so that's why they were probably short, because they probably didn't add all of them. They probably are not revealing everything in the exotics, but for when I played, the exotics don't have that many perks, and it doesn't seem like you can add any mods to them. But the exotics I played with was the hand cannon and the heavy auto rifle that looks a lot like a machine gun. But they were both pretty cool exotics. I think if I had to choose a favorite, I would have to say was the hand cannon. I think it was pretty cool. It kind of was like a mini version of the gunslinger hand cannon, but I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, it's just the weapons were kind of a little bit disappointing when it came to the perks, but the customizations I think is gonna make up for that, and I think that's what's gonna contribute to the perks. But that's really gonna be all for the weapons. Now we're gonna move on to the armor. Okay, so now what the armor is, it's different from the way they did in Destiny 2. For instance, in Destiny 1, when you would pick an armor, they would have like these like 3 different kinds of perks, and what they were kind of like is where it would increase how fast your ability or your subclass would charge and your agility and all that stuff. So now what they're doing is there's going to be different classes of armor. For instance, if you have a Titan and there's different kinds of armor, like there's restorative armor and then there's heavy armor. Heavy armor is going to do better things than what a restorative armor might do. A restorative armor will, I assume, give you, faster healing regeneration, and then with heavy armor, it offers a lot more damage resistance. So which adds a lot more of a kind of like if let's say you want to play on a raid and you say, okay, well, this section of the raid is really difficult. I need more damage resistance. Or if you're playing on this part of a raid where it's like, okay, well, if you're burning, you might need more, damage resistance. It really offers that kind of like playstyle of choosing what your playstyle is. Do you want to be a tank and use damage resistance, or do you want to have an agility and have fast recovery, but at the cost of damage resistance? Or you can just have a balance where you have like a couple armor that's damage resistance and a couple armor that's not. It's really cool that how they're doing that, and I think it kind of really gets a lot more variety for armor types. Now I'm giving a Titans example because that's what I've seen from Titans, because that's what I've been playing with on the beta. But I think it's going to be really cool. But the negative downside is the perk tree. Again, the perks on armor is very low. But I think it's probably because of the beta. It's a beta, so I mean it's probably not going to have everything. But it's just it doesn't have a lot of perks like the other armor did. Now, near Destiny 1's life cycle, it did kind of drastically change. But maybe it's because in Destiny 1 they made like it a little bit bigger, like the circles where you had to choose the different perks. It kind of were bigger, but now in this game it's like a lot smaller and it has like a wider screen, and you just choose a whole bunch of other stuff. That's probably why. But it seems like you can change the color of your armor like you do with shaders, but it looks like you can do it with individual pieces. So like if you want to make a orange and black armor and put orange on every other armor piece and black on every other piece, you can look like a pumpkin or something. I don't know, but that's what it looks like, and I think it would be pretty cool to give more customization to your specific character instead of having the armor that's the same like every other Guardian. Another thing is that they have infusion. So infusion is in the base game, so that's always good. Back in Destiny 1, if you really liked a weapon, and when you moved into the Taken King, you couldn't bring that weapon with you, which bummed a lot of people out, especially with Gallahorn. But rest in peace, Gallahorn, at year 2. But now they brought it back, but still, I mean, I don't know if Gallahorn's going to be making a return on Destiny 2. But anyways, So you can infuse armor, like different armor pieces. And another thing is that if you destroy one of your legendary armor pieces, you get like kind of like legendary marks, but it's legendary uh, pieces. And I guess that's what you use to infuse. But so that's gonna be interesting. I assume that's gonna be the same mechanic with weapons, where when you because weapons also have infusion, but I think they're gonna use that same legendary material to infuse weapons. So another thing with armor is I assume that they're gonna have mods with them, because if you look at it, it has such a similar screen to the weapons perks. So it's very similar. So I think they're gonna be using a similar system where you can add perks to your armor, so where it can possibly like deflect different damage types. So like, let's say your chest piece, you're going in a strike that has an arc modifier. You say, okay, well, I want damage resistance to arc, and then you just put on your chest piece. But that's just a theory, but from what it looks like, you can add stuff to your armor. So that's really all I have to say about armor. Not anything too grand, but it's pretty solid, and I think it's gonna but I feel like they're gonna change a couple things in the full release, but for right now, it's satisfying with armor. I'm pretty satisfied with the armor and weapons in general. Just a couple of things I would change. But now, up next, we're going to be talking about the abilities and the perk trees, because I have a lot to say about those. Okay, let's talk about the coolest thing about this game is the abilities. Everybody has been hyping up abilities, especially the Titan Sentinel. I played with the Sentinel. It is pretty good, but I think it's interesting from all the others, because what it does is it also adds a previous ability that's just a little perk to it, and it's called the Ward of Dawn. Like, you have that at your disposal. So if you hold down your L1 and R1, you can trigger the bubble, the Ward of Dawn, and then if you just lightly tap it, you get a freaking shield, a shield that you can throw once. But if you add another perk, which you gotta also, but I'm gonna get to that in a second. You can throw the shield; it can bounce from. Basically, you're like Captain America. It's crazy, but I like it. I think it was pretty cool. It's probably one of the most unique out of all the subclasses. I played with the Hunter and the Titan. Now, the reason why I didn't play with the Warlock is not because I hate Warlocks. I think they're really cool. It's just because I've seen so much of the Dawn Blade and the Nova. I actually played with the Nova bomb, but then I deleted the character because I wanted to record footage for the Hunter and Titan, because that's what a lot of people haven't seen much of. But with the Titan, they bring back Striker, which is kind of reimagined, where now instead of just Hulk smashing the ground, now you're charging. You kind of like this like shoulder charge where you're running around and you can punch people. You can punch people in the face. You can just slam the ground a couple times. It's really cool. I think it's more of an aggressive version of the Striker subclass. And with the Ward of Dawn, you just kind of place on the bubble, and I think you can. It's cool. But see, now the difference with the Ward of Dawn is now that it's not indestructible anymore. It's actually kind of vulnerable if you do a whole bunch of damage to it, but it just gives you momentary relief. Another thing is that with the abilities, the smaller abilities, like, adding a smaller shield in front of you is something for the Titan, which was pretty cool. With the Hunter, they have the Arc Strider, I think that's what they call it. It used to be the Arc Blade, or Blade Dancer, my bad. And it's kind of like a reimagining of the Blade Dancer, basically. It's not really anything too unique, but it's fun to play with. But it's, compared to all the other subclasses, it's nothing that drastically changes that ability like how they did with Sentinel. Because Sentinel, they just add a whole another ability, and then added that like other ability in Destiny 1 just to put in there, like, let's have the Titan have that. We'll just put in there with the Sentinel. So it was kind of, like, okay, it's you do you, boo-hoo. But with the Warlock, with its with the flaming sword, where you're literally flying in air, you're just shooting down flames with your sword. That's probably one of the more drastic changes of all the subclasses, because before you had a Sunslinger, if I do believe it was, and you would just throw infinite amount of solar grenades, and then you could self-revive. Self-revive's gone, so if you really like that, sorry, it's not there. Now one of my favorite abilities with the Hunter, which is Gunslinger. Gunslinger is now upgraded, and I think they wanted to put it on the level of the new subclasses like Dawnblade and Sentinel and the Striker. Now with the Hunter Gunslinger, now you can fire 6 rounds and shoot it very fast. It's basically if they gave you the last word and they made it into the solar hand cannon. That's what it is. So I thought it was cool. I think the Gunslinger's going to see a lot in PvP, so I'm pretty excited for that. Hunter have those dash movements and stuff like the Hunters always have, and the Titan has those like shields and stuff. So I thought it was pretty cool where you can place a shield, and there's 2 different kinds of shields. You can place a shield that covers your whole body, but you can't shoot through, or you can have a shield that you can shoot through. It's just enough to where it gives you space to shoot. Warlocks have the ability to kind of trigger these auras that speed up health and whatnot, so I thought that was cool. But each Hunter dash movement, if you tap the circle button, one can I believe recover melee charge rate and health or shield recovery. So I think that was pretty cool, smaller abilities. And also a lot of the another 4 of the perks in your perk tree is not really a perk tree. It's kind of like you just select whatever you wanted. It's locked off because you need a specific material to unlock one of those 4 abilities, which I thought was cool, but they were not let us use in the base of Destiny 2 beta, which is not a problem because I wanted to actually experience Destiny 2 and not give us all the stuff that we want. I like how we have to wait until Destiny 2 to see more of the game, which I thought was a good idea, other than when they did that in Destiny 1 where it's like, hey, here's 1/3 of the game or 2/3 of the game, have fun, and we're like, okay, and then when you actually play Destiny 1 it was kind of like, wow, I already played this. It's kind of boring. But another thing about the armor is, and this is something that I've heard a lot of complaints about, was the perks. There's not many perks like it was in Destiny 1 where you had that whole screen where you can select on each column a perk that you wanted to use that would adjust your toughness and armor resistance and all that stuff, and then there would be some where you can switch different types of grenades. What I have to say about this, and I will confirm, that they split the responsibility in that sense of your abilities don't have anything to do with your armor resistance or your health recovery, unless it's with a smaller ability that actually triggers when you do a different ability. But that responsibility is befelled on the armor. The armor is what adjusts your armor or your damage resistance, your health regeneration, all that stuff. So they place the responsibility on the armor. So now when you go into the ability, the subclass perk screen, that's all you're going to get is the subclass perk abilities. So they wanted to keep things separate, and so that you can focus on what you want to do with perks. So I thought that was a really cool idea. And at first, when I first saw one of the videos from a YouTuber who was saying oh well, they kind of just dumbed everything down with the perks or the subclasses. I'm like, that sucks. And now that I'm playing the Destiny 2 beta, I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing. It makes a lot more sense. So it's gonna look like it's barren, there's not much, but they just split the responsibility, so it's all fine. It gives armor a lot more importance than just I want to look cool or such. And so they just don't want to make armor just be something that you want to look cool with. Because a lot of people in Destiny 1 was like, hey, I'm going to put on this armor if it's not raid armor. Raid armor is what gave you a whole bunch of cool abilities. But if it was legendary armor, it's like, hey, I got this armor, it looks cool, I'll just infuse it. But now you actually want to find good armor. And apparently now they have different classes of armor, so that's even better. So I assume that's going to be for every class, with different kinds of armor. But I'm getting off track about the abilities. But yeah, the abilities, pretty solid. I'm hearing that they might bring back the Taken King abilities, like the Shadow Shot and Sunbreaker, and Emperor Palpatine, aka the Warlock ability. But yeah, I hear that they're gonna probably be bringing those back. But if they don't, kind of a bummer. But if they do, it'll be pretty cool. Or make it to where you have to re-earn those abilities. That'd be cool for the story-wise. But for what they have given us, it's pretty solid. I like what they're doing. But probably the least impressive out of all of them is probably the Arc Strider. Is kind of, I mean, okay, it's like a Blade Dancer. It doesn't have that much change like all the others. It's kind of like you're just flipping around with a staff that's made of arc damage, but it's pretty cool against PvP. I can see it being used a lot in PvP as well if you're running free for all maybe. But oh wait, that's right, they don't have free for all, but I'll discuss that in the Crucible section of this review. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Crucible. Crucible is a little bit different than what it was in Destiny 1. Now, in Destiny 1, it was more just everybody having abilities, hitting each other, shooting each other, different guns being more better than others in different, months of the game's life. Like, they would boost up hand cannons, and then they'll decrease auto rifles. And it would be just like, if one auto rifle had a problem, they were like, okay, that one auto rifle had a problem, shut it down, shut it all down. All the auto rifles getting a debuff, and all the hand cannons getting buffed up, and it's like, Bungie, chill, it's fine, just leave it alone, just adjust that one gun. So from what I hear is that they're going to be doing that, is just like if there's a gun that seems to be getting more play, they want to balance things out, so that's always good. But from what I played in Crucible, which was mind you, a beta, this is beta, it's good. It's good. I like it. The abilities were not overly used. When I say abilities, I mean subclasses. The subclasses were not overly used, but the abilities had a big part in my Crucible match. For instance, the shield. I used my shield while I was holding down one of the flags. So apparently, I think I was playing Control. The abilities were, very well utilized, and not everybody was running around with, subclasses, which gave gunfighting a lot more intensity, where you didn't have to be like, oh wow, that person's gonna probably break out a gunslinger at any moment and kill me. Like that'll be fun. No, it was pretty balanced, more balanced than like what it was in Destiny 1. And the maps were more designed for, each opponent's abilities. When I say abilities, I mean the actual abilities, not the subclasses. For instance, I was actually in this I was holding down this flag, and there was these two rock pillars from what I can remember, and I placed down a shield that connected to these rock pillars so that they couldn't walk around, So it was pretty cool that how they made the map kind of like that, but I'm probably looking into intently on it, but I think it was pretty cool. And also the way they designed the maps, and this is usually how they did it with the other, with Destiny 1, which I liked about how they did the game mode of Control, is where they will have a flat surface for the flags so that it will give you more defensive points to defend or take over. More often than most, it's more for defense, where you have a flat surface and you can see where everybody's coming from. There was two entrances that would lead you into the flag where you had to capture it and stuff. When I say capture flag, I don't mean actual capture flag, but controlling the flag. So it was pretty cool. I played the same map a couple times, so they didn't really have that whole map rotation, but I think they probably separated that from the other game modes. Now, the other game mode it's fun. I had a pretty good time with it. And it was actually I played with the city map. It's where you kind of move around and run around. It was pretty cool. I had fun with that, but really nicely designed map. I like the little courtyard center, or it's not really the center map, but it had that kind of courtyard feeling where it's flat, and that's usually where all the players meet to capture an objective, which I thought was a pretty cool, smart map design. And they didn't make maps overly large, but they didn't make them overly small. But they're not having any free-for-all in the Destiny 2. They're not going to release that yet, nor are they going to have private matches, which really suit, because we had to wait for 2 years in Destiny 1 until we actually finally got private matches, but they're not going to release it on Destiny 2, but they say that they're probably going to try adding it later into Destiny 2. Hopefully they don't give it to us in paid DLC, because apparently they're already advertising that with the two upcoming DLCs in the game, where it's gonna be Trials of Osiris or something about Trials of Osiris, and I assume something about Rasputin, but it's just hopefully they don't just shove DLC down our throats. But apparently they're going to be saying that they are going to be releasing free content updates, so I'm pretty excited for that. But overall, I would have to say that the Crucible experience was really fun. I enjoyed myself. A little bit more teamwork, and when I say this, it's because of the abilities actually seem to kind of bring Guardians together into taking an objective. So like when I was a Titan, I placed on that shield, everybody gathered behind me to defend themselves with my shield. So I thought it was really cool, and I really appreciated that addition to what Bungie made for abilities, which kind of offers a lot more teamwork. And I think if they ever bring back Trials of Osiris or the other ability, I keep forgetting because I haven't played Destiny 1 in a while, but the Iron Banner, that's what it was. If they ever bring back Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris, those more team fulfilling competitive modes, I think we'll see a whole lot more fun in those. But that's really what I'm going to say about Crucible, because I think it was really fun, and it was kind of fast paced, but it was also slow paced. It kind of like they wanted you to take your time, but also be aggressive, and I thought that was really really fun. Whereas Destiny 1 was just go everywhere, hit everything with your Sunbreaker if you were a Titan, because that's usually what people were going to use unless they had to do a specific quest to get void kills or something. But yeah, Crucible, pretty good. I will have to give it a high grade. But now we're going to talk about the last part, which is going to be the strike. Okay, time to talk about the strike. Okay, so they let you play one strike. The strike was fun. It was linear, but it had the way they designed it was kind of like you can go one direction, but you can also look around. When I was playing it, you could actually look around, and I went down a certain path, and I found pikes, and they were like fallen people, like just like, hey man, we're here on pikes. We're just like, oh cool, I found something. If I didn't go that path, I wouldn't have found that. So that was really cool, and it seemed very interesting that you could go kind of move around. It's like its own little mini world, but you had that like objective. But the strike kind of does suffer or have like a couple instances where it has Destiny 2-1 or Destiny 1 sickness, where you have to defend against enemy waves of enemies, but not really a big deal. Not really a big deal. It just, I mean, it fit. Like you had to like record data from like this like pillar, and you had to jump through like this thing. It was like this like kind of like booster thing from Halo, and it would transport you to another location. Another thing that I had an issue with is that there's this area where it's has a whole bunch of it seems like this land was being shelled, and it has like all these craters, and if you go above, it's kind of like it's separate from the other area. It just looks like it just looks very out of place compared to the other locations. And if you ever play the strike, you'll see what I mean. If you just go right before you enter that like battlefield, no man's land, before you have to go into that lift to the tower, and you get on the top high end area, and you look down upon that landscape, it's kind of like it's boxed in, and it's more obvious that it's boxed in, and it's not really a big deal, but it just kind of was weird looking. But I may be being picky, but if you actually were to see it, you probably know what I mean. Another thing is the bosses. What was the boss like? Well, the boss, really good. I would have to say that they made a lot of progress since Destiny 1, where they don't have these bosses who are just bullet sponges, because that was a big issue with Destiny 1, where it's like, hey, all these bosses are bullet sponges, man. This isn't fun. Just you gotta shoot the guy a bunch of times. Like, well, yeah, that's a boss, but then again, I do agree, because see, back when the House of Wolves DLC came out, where they had the Prison of Elders, you had to like be specific on how you attack them and stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. But they ended up being bullet sponges. But then when what was it called? Rise of Iron DLC came out, and you had to take out that that big fallen priest, and he had that ogre. You had to try to shoot him while evading the ogre, which gave it a lot more of a sense of variety when playing, instead of just having to make him. He was basically a bullet sponge, but he would teleport. So you had to worry about this ogre, but you also had to worry about where he was teleporting. Now in this mode, you had to take out a Vex, big guy, and you gotta like kill him. But see, what he does is he drops the floor. Basically, he makes the floor disappear. You fall down, and then at one certain point, he will actually make the floor flame, and you have to jump on these pillars. He's still a bullet sponge, but see, he has these levels of health that when you get him down to a certain point, he changes the map, or he changes the battle area, which I thought gave a very good variety on a strike. Now, hopefully, they do this more with the other strikes, and hopefully, they do this with the raid and maybe some story missions. I think it was very fun. I would give it a high grade compared to. It's probably a very fun strike, but it had some funny moments with the dialogue between the ghost and the AI. I don't know what the AI's name is, but I thought it was very enjoyable and funny. I was kind of cracking up a couple times because like you hit this boost jump, and it carries you across this valley, and then it has this waterfall, and apparently it's Vex. If you don't know the lore, apparently Vex is like the white substance that's put in the bellies. That's what the Vex are. They're like microbial technology things. But as you're in the air, your ghost says, "Ooh, it's a Vex waterfall." Aw, I'm just like, oh my god, that is okay. It's like that happened. It was fun. It was a very enjoyable experience. Kind of laid back, but also very fun. Also, one of the things is that the enemies, they had some variety. It's like they had like these like Cabal dogs or something like that. It was pretty cool. I liked it. And then it had like these cool Cabal guys with like dual blades, which were pretty powerful, but really fun. I will agree. Super, super cool, and had a lot of variety with the enemies. Next, I'm going to talk about the final story mission. Okay, the final thing. I swear this is the final thing. I know I said before that the strike was gonna be the final part, but I'm gonna make an exception and talk about the story mission. The story mission is a very key part in this beta. They only let you play the first mission. The cutscenes happen and very well made. The facial expressions are very well crafted and have a lot more emotion. So you're just like watching these people, and you know that he's freaked out. Like, okay, so there's this one scene where Commander Zavala just looks at the sky. He's like, "Is it a storm? Oh no, it's a whole army coming at us!" And then you see him like really, his facial expression gets like really freaked out, and you're like, "Oh, okay, stuff's getting real." The cutscenes were pretty cool. I will admit, I think they were one of the best in all of gaming. Is usually what Bungie does with graphics, and how like Halo Reach, when it first came out, it was really impressive graphic wise compared to a lot of games on the console. So I really enjoyed Bungie's graphics design and stuff. In one part, if you zoom in on that like thing that goes on to that hooks up to the Traveler, it has like this kind of weird. It has a graphics error, and when I say graphics error, it's kind of like it goes from 64-bit to 16-bit. It's weird. Or it gets kind of blurry. But other than that, it's not really a big deal because the skybox, oh my goodness, it is beautiful. Destructive, but beautiful. It is so amazing how they've designed it. You have the ships coming in. Oh my goodness, it is great. And also on the beginning cinematic, the music, when the Cabal forces are heading towards the tower, and that music hits, and they have like that, orchestra, or not orchestra, but just singing, like they have that kind of like, okay, the Skyrim's theme. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it just has that impact, and you're like, yeah, stuff is gonna get nuts. We're gonna have to fight, and it pumped me up. I was like, okay, this music's really getting me. And it's like they had that whole choir just going, oh, and they were doing way better than me. But it was very, very emotional, and it was like really cool. I'm not saying like it's gonna be like the next, Witcher 3 in like sound, but it's good. It's really good. I like the music, and I also like the music Bungie was putting out, especially in Taken King, because a lot of their music in Taken King was really fun to listen, or very great to listen to. Okay, so now we're gonna discuss the pace of the mission. Yes, it is linear, but it's more focused. When you played missions on Destiny 1, you really were just kind of playing and trying to get through so you can get leveled up. You just really didn't notice a lot of the story elements. But with Destiny 2, on their first story mission, they really made a focus on story driven, and also you're more involved in the environment. You're not just killing enemies, you're also seeing allies, and you're also seeing other NPCs who are suffering, and it kind of adds that setting that makes a big impact on Destiny's story and also its gameplay. Like, you're fighting alongside Zavala, and he puts a bubble whenever they're shooting rockets at you, which was a really cool element to the battle. But then again, the resist the waves, enemy waves was on there again, but no big deal. But then they did redeem themselves, because when you go onto the Cabal ship, you had to destroy the generator, and what you had to do was you had to shoot these like little rotary things that creates it's like a turbine. You had to destroy all of them to shut down the engine or the shields, which really cool element. I liked how they did that. It was not just you shoot, defend waves. You can also do that stuff. So hopefully they add more of those elements into Destiny 2's story, missions, and strikes by doing other things than just killing. You can like pick up batteries, place them in there, or like how they did with the Wrath of the Machine, right, where you had to put apart the gondola, or you had to place down stuff on the boss. With Axis, I think his name was. So hopefully they do more stuff like that. But for the Destiny 1 mission, it was really cool. And the cutscene, the final cutscene, where you go, basically, the big baddie, Gary, he makes you feel so insignificant. Like, he just takes away your light, and then he's like, "Don't look at me," and he just kicks you. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, Destiny 2, the reason why their story's going to be more focused and good is because they actually have an enemy that you focus on. Now in Destiny 1, you were like, okay, I'm on Earth, I'm gonna go kill the Fallen. Like, no, actually, there's this problem on the moon. Like, the Hive are probably there, I don't know. And you're like, okay, go into the moon. You go to the moon, you do stuff with the Hive, you kill the Hive, or like that like thing that apparently it's taking the life out of the Traveler, and you're like, okay, whatever. And then they say, oh, well, you need to go to Venus because this random person is trying to get your attention. You go there and they say, yeah, there's just going to be this very bad thing, but I don't have time to explain on why I have time to explain. Basically, the plot summary of Destiny 1 was, I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain. They just didn't want to say anything because they had no idea what they were doing because of all the lead writers leaving back in Destiny 1's development. But anyways, and then you go to Venus, you had to get the Vex mine core or whatever, and then you had to go to the reef, and then you meet these people who are just going to become DLC, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, and you're running back to Venus. You're like, okay, I'm going to put this into, or actually, no, wait, you got to go to Mars, and you got to use the Vex mine core, and then you go into the Black Garden, and then you got to kill, like, this darkness thing, because apparently that's what darkness was, and like, you had to basically fight the final boss, or bosses, were just like, one of the 3 of the same types of boss that you fought earlier on Venus. So it was very kind of anticlimactic, and then at the end they were like, oh, hey, you did this, here's a gun, I'm gonna go and not explain anything to you, I'll see you later. And then that was the end of Destiny 1. But with Destiny 2, hopefully they have more of a rewarding story by not just making it cinematic, but also giving us these stories. But what they're doing is now with patrols are going to give you story through the environment and through NPCs. So I'm really excited to see how they do that. But with Destiny 1, really cool when it came to kind of it had freedom, but with that freedom, they just really dropped the ball on storytelling. But now with Destiny 2, it seems like it might be more linear, but it's going to focus more on storytelling. So either way, it's hopefully they make it to where it's like it's they're going to focus on storytelling and not make it linear. But if they make it linear and have great storytelling, then I would allow it. I would feel more invested in characters if it was linear and had great story. That's not a problem to me. Hopefully they go down a route that, as long as they have a great story, that's really all that matters to me when it comes to storyline. And the gameplay is very solid. I think one complaint that I have is the fact that the enemies are kind of, I don't know what it is, but the enemies do this weird thing where they're shooting at you and then they just move. They just move. Even when you're not shooting at them, they just move. And you're like, okay, that's understandable that you gotta move, but you're just moving. They're moving all around. I'm like, chill. Just chill, Cabal. You're just a turtle. Just stay. Just please. One of the cool things is also like the variety of bad guys. One is like this like incinerator Cabal, and he's like, and you have to shoot the thing on his back, and it'll make him explode. So I thought that was pretty cool. But they do move around a lot. They move around a whole lot more than what they did in Destiny 1, where they kind of let you stay and they'll let you shoot them. But then in Taken King, they kind of redid that to where now they can like teleport, and it's just like, oh, okay. And or if they're hobgoblins, where they just like you shoot them, and then they go into that shield, and you're like, oh my god, just please stop that. And they're doing things different, especially with the enemies where they seem to be a little bit more difficult to destroy, and they have like all these like sub ability like harder level enemies, or like how they had them in Destiny 1, where they had like the white or the yellow health bar and stuff, and they had a lot more shields. So there's gonna be a lot more variety on enemies, so I thought that was really cool. Another thing is the setting, great art design. I thought the environment was very spectacular and had a very great focus when playing. Really, I don't have any complaints with the story mission other than that I wish they gave us another story mission, because they really held me in suspense, because they kick you off a freaking ship and you're falling down and stuff. I'm like, okay, just I'll be down here, man, just no problem. But that's pretty much all I gotta say about the story mission. Now we're gonna go and give the final grade on this beta and possibly the game, if this is all they're gonna offer. Okay, so time to get the final grade on the Destiny 2 beta. When I said earlier that if this is going to be the whole game, what I mean by that is if... See, this is already kind of like a lack of content for a beta, but it's understandable why. Because back in the Destiny 1 beta, they gave us a whole lot of content, and it just kind of partially ruined the game for us, because it gave us a lot of stuff. So now what they're doing is they're going a complete opposite route, where they're giving you all these like little tastes of each part of the game. I don't think the beta is going to be as played long, or it's going to be played as long as it was in Destiny 1, where people would just sit there and play it. Because when I played the Destiny 2 beta, I played it, beat the first mission. Now you can replay it and keep getting armor, but that's really all. You're just playing the same stuff, and you're not progressing anywhere else. They don't show you the land or like the patrol area, which is understandable, because they want to keep that a secret. They really want people to wait until Destiny 2, so that's fine. I mean, throughout the Destiny 2 beta, I didn't have any internet connection issues. It was had a solid connection. The Crucible felt smooth. I wasn't getting any connection issues, so I thought that was good. For a beta, it was very great. I think I would have to give it a Destiny 2 beta. I would have to give it a 8 out of 10. Reason why I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 is because of the lack of content in a beta, but it is a beta, so but for what it is, I would give it a 10 out of 10. So I'm probably just gonna give it I'll have to give it about a 9.10. I'm gonna have to be in the middle. The reason why is because it gives you one story mission, one strike, and then 2 Crucible modes and 2 Crucible maps to play and stuff. So it's a beta. It's good for a beta, but if they keep a lot, like the certain things that they have for like weapon slots and armor slots and stuff in the perk system. Hopefully they change a little bit of that stuff, but if they don't, Destiny 2 will still be a solid game. It will still have a solid foundation, which I think is really great. So if I were to review Destiny 2 in the Destiny 2 beta, abilities and whatnot carry over to Destiny 2 base game, I think Destiny 2 will be fine. I think Destiny 2 is gonna be just fine if they, keep moving forward. They're not moving backwards. Now, they have taken a couple steps back. That is true. Destiny 2 has taken a couple steps back to where they, no private matches and stuff. But I think what they're doing is they're also trying to acquire new players and trying to bring old players back. One of the things is like this system where if you never played a raid before, you can join a raid group and you're just wanting to learn the raid and stuff, and you can join these other people who are willing to do that. So at the same time, if they don't want a matchmaking raid system because of the problem with non-communication, they wanted a team play. They want people to work together. But with this, they kind of found a middle to where new people can join these more experienced people to learn and create new friendships and work together, and they can all learn from each other. So I think that was a pretty good idea, but they didn't show us that because it's a beta. They're not going to show us the raid because they're not even going to have it. I don't think they're going to even have it out when Destiny 2 first comes out, which I never understand why they did that. I never understood why they made it to where like the hard mode's going to come out like a week or two after the raid. I think they're gonna have the raid in the game, but I don't think they're gonna have the hard mode in when it first releases. But that's not a really big deal. But yeah, Destiny 2 beta, really good. I would be glad to play it. Hopefully they add more stuff in the upcoming, days or its final days of releasing. But that's really all I'm gonna have to say about it. I think Destiny 2 is gonna be very good. I think it's gonna fix a lot of the issues that we had in Destiny 1. With their promise of content updates coming out like a lot more often, that keeps the players, fresh and just keep playing. I think that's going to be a very big part in Destiny 2's life cycle. Another thing is the world. I think it's going to be more expanded upon, and a lot of story elements that are going to be contributing to each player's experience, I think, is another big part of Destiny 2, and I already saw it in the beginning of Destiny 2 story mission. I think that it kind of made a very big impression on me. So I have high hopes for the game. My skepticism is a lot less than what it was before. So that's really all I'm going to say about the Destiny 2 beta and Destiny 2 in general, and I hope all you have a very great day and stay opinionated. Bye.